So here's what Elon Musk and myself have in common. We're both bold. Well, he was until he got a real notation. That's pretty much it. Now, there's actually one more thing, which I'll get to in a little bit as well. Obviously, at a completely different level. But hey, gotta hook you in somehow, right? But what I really want to share is whether you or anyone should build a personal brand right now. And there's actually pros and cons to that. And as you've probably seen recently, clear example of like someone doing this phenomenally is obviously Alex Hormozi, right? I was in a mastermind together with him a couple years back, and it's been amazing to see him grow, especially over the last 18 months or so. The amount of reach he's created by creating a personal brand is just phenomenal, right? I want to share a couple cents why I think that building a personal brand is probably going to be more important over the coming years, but it's not going to be as easy as a lot of people think, especially if you lack the right strategy, right? So personally, I've never really built a personal brand. Like if you look me up on social media, I don't have any followers. You know, if you're watching this, it's just not like there's a lot of people watching these kind of videos, right? I'm just doing this for fun, essentially. And at this point in time, I'm actually not actively working to building a personal brand. Like if that's what you're thinking, this is it, this is not, right? I'm just like an early balding guy from the Netherlands, like shooting a couple of videos on YouTube, but like I'm not trying to build a personal brand. Yes, I have always used my face and my, me as a person in the marketing of my businesses, right? Like you've probably seen a ton of ads that I've been using, like and that's because if there's a person behind a business, in my experience with my personal skill set, it just makes it a lot easier to grow business, right? Because at the end of the day, people relate to another person more than they relate to a brand. And that is another thing that Elon Musk and I have in common, right? You don't just know about Tesla, you also know about Elon Musk. And like the same happens for a lot of businesses. Like you don't just know Apple, so you might even know Tim Cook, but at the very least, Steve Jobs, right? Because again, people just relate to another person. So I've always used my person, what they call the attractive character, right? In this case, not as attractive, but anyway, I've always used my face and myself as, in my marketing, essentially, right? But that doesn't mean that I have a strong personal brand, not at all, actually. What I believe is that going forward towards the future, towards the near future, a personal brand is going to be more important than ever before. Because now that we have AI, content, information, is going to be even more of a commodity. We already had plenty of content, right? But any kind of content is going to be a commodity, to the insane level. Right now, we're not even scratching the surface yet. Not even close. In a year or two, we'll be able to produce so much video, audio content that you wouldn't even know is AI. We'll just, the market will be flooded with AI content, right? So how are you going to stand out? Only by having a real connection with your audience, aka building a personal brand, right? Or a brand on itself, but a personal brand, I think, is just a lot easier to connect with people, right? Talking about AI, right now in the market, there's something over 1,000 AI startups that have been built just over the last year or so, right? Most of them don't make any money. They're just there. They're awesome technology. They're awesome startups, but there's not much of a brand. That's what the difference is between whatever random AI tool versus Jasper, right? Because Jasper, technically wise, is just a wrapper against over existing AI models, right? But what they do well is they created a brand. In their case, not a personal brand, but a brand. And then marketing is the differentiator, right? That is what sets them apart from all the other tools that have similar technology, right? And the same is going to apply for the next couple of years, where more and more people, they'll have plenty of content to consume, but even just making buying decisions on stuff, they can just ask AI, what are the pros and cons? And the AI will just tell them for their particular situation, hey, yeah, your kids actually won't love it because of that or that. Oh, yeah, that's true. It's gonna be nuts, right? So if all that content is out there, and if it's so easy to get the practical information, I believe that having a personal connection with your audience or with a audience, aka building a brand, is going to be a massive differentiator. Because right now you already see that the willingness to pay, what people pay for certain things, is dependent on that. People will be willing to spend more if it's connected to a certain influencer. You definitely know Mr. Beast. You've probably seen Mr. Beast. There's a reason why he sells tons of chocolate. There's a reason why he sells tons of burgers, right? Because he knows the game. And that brings me to the next point, and that is there's right now, it's also not easy to build your personal brand. It's not easy to stand out in the crowd with all these different influencers. But most of these influencers, they have zero clue about what to do with the attention, right? And that's a big differentiator. You don't want to compete on hey, I'm going to be another YouTuber or whatever and just do the same thing as all the others do, because that's just silly, right? The odds are not in your favor, right? The way you are gonna, if as a smart entrepreneur, the way you're gonna beat that game, if you're deciding to go for that, is to play a different game, right? Again, Alex Hormozi is a good example of that. He didn't start hey, I want to build a personal brand. And what is the end in mind? What is the thing he wants? And he has a way to convert his attention to something extremely valuable. In his case, he's buying businesses and he's getting mega upside on that, right? And because he knows exactly how to convert all that attention into cash flow, actual money, he's able to play a different game. He plays the long game. He can spend a ton of money and still be in the profit, right? Whereas all the influencers, they cannot spend a lot of money because that's it, right? But if you play the game of this is what I'm using it for, this is how I'm going to monetize it better than anyone else, right? I'm not talking about a negative way. I'm not talking about hey, we're just going to sell the crap out of stuff. Not what I'm saying at all. It's about the overall strategy. What is the long-term game? How are you actually going to leverage your personal brand? And if you have the long game there and a good strategy of how that's going to be more valuable than anyone else can do by having a great business behind you, like whatever it might be, right? That is when you can actually compete, because then you can actually invest more time, more money, more everything than competitors. And you can go laser focused and use it as a strategy for your business, right? All the different things coming together. But yeah, like I said, I very much believe that towards the next couple of years, your personal brand is going to be more of a differentiator. It's going to be more important, and yet it's going to also be much harder to build it, right? So my advice would be to, yes, start a personal brand, but if and only if you have the right strategy in place to leverage it, because as long as you don't have that, I wouldn't start it at all. But with that, hope you have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you soon. All right, cut. We're done here. Let's wrap it up. Oh, well, sorry, you're still there. Well, in that case, thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe to my channel where I share marketing tips, tricks, and strategies that will help you grow your business faster. So you can click on the subscribe button right now or check out the next video. Either way, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.